on something you would bring to the White House if you were the next president of the United States. Congressman Paul.
I'd bring a bushel basket full of common sense, and I would also bring a course in Austrian economics to teach the people the business cycle and why the Fed creates inflation and depressions and all our unemployment problems.
And I was delighted to hear that you actually even have an opportunity in this school to study Austrian economics if you look around and pay attention. I think that's wonderful.
All right, this is Peter Schiff, and I've come down here to occupy Wall Street to represent the 1% and see if I can have a dialogue with the other 99%, maybe see if we can find some common ground. It's not capitalism that has failed them, it's socialism, it's corporatism, it's crony capitalism, it's fascism. That is the problem. Capitalism is the solution if we can only fully embrace it. Anyway, we got a few people around here, and I'm wondering who in particular would like to address any of their grievances.
A political movement.
Well, I think that people, especially young people, have a right to be pissed off. One of the problems people want is the forgiveness of the student loans. Why are there all these student loans? It's because the government guaranteed them. If the government minded its own business, then nobody could get a student loan.
Well, there's never been a monopoly without government involvement.
No, but my point is, if it wasn't for the government, college would be cheap. The tuitions would be low. It's only because the government subsidizes it and guarantees the loans. But who gets the shaft here? It's the kids. The colleges get all the money, and they stick the kids with the bill. They graduate with these worthless degrees with $100,000 or more in debt, and they can't get a job. And if they get a job, they're paying massive taxes. They're paying Social Security taxes to support a generation that voted in this Ponzi scheme before any of these people were born. They're paying income taxes. If there's anything left, they got to pay back their student loans, and they can't even discharge them in bankruptcy, and if they die, their parents are stuck with them.
College in New Zealand than for me to stay here and go to college.
But you know what? If the government stopped subsidizing student loans, the universities would have to slash the prices, and then you can afford to go. You wouldn't need a loan.
Okay.
Thank
you for the answer.
What role did Wall Street play in this crisis in your
No, they played a big role. Wall Street drank the alcohol that the Federal Reserve poured. But if there was no Fed pouring the alcohol, if Fannie and Freddie weren't guaranteeing all these mortgages, Wall Street wouldn't have originated them. So it was Wall Street working with government. But the source of the problem was government. Government started. That's how come when I was warning about the crisis back in 2004 and 2005, begging the Fed to raise interest rates, trying to get Fannie and Freddie out of the mortgage guarantee business, nobody wanted to listen to me.
Why is education so expensive?
Good damn question. Why is education? Because it's an industry. Education is an industry, and just in the same fashion that banks have been privatized, and the military has been privatized in a lot of ways, I feel like education has as well.
Actually, education has been more publicized or made part of the public sphere with government since the institution of the Department of Education in the 70s, and since government has grown, government has taken a greater and greater control of our education, both in what we call public and private. Even in private colleges now, government has more of a role than ever before in funding and controlling. Do you think that affects the cost of education for students?
I think that, once again, the real crux of the problem, I guess, in response to what you just said, is that the government is not necessarily being completely run by and for the general population. That it's the government is fully privatized, which is no surprise, and it's not even something that it's a global issue. It's just how politics works, but I feel like the government is being funded by the 1%ers, and so it falls down into our education systems and so on and so forth.
So you're asking that for that same system that's funded by the 1%ers, that government that exists to serve the 1%ers, to now give out more educational benefits as it has been that have created this problem?
Oh yeah, totally. I think.
And we will remain a danger to the Federal Reserve System as well. Yes. And the Fed, right, and the Fed.
in studying monetary history from the beginning of our country and even throughout all of history, monetary policy on periodic occasions will become the dominant issue. And we have emphasized that, and it has become an important issue. Just think, this is the first presidential campaign that the subject ever came up since the Federal Reserve was started. So we are now, because of what is happening, it will remain a dominant issue. There's no way they're going to put it to bed because they have destroyed our money. It's worldwide. There's a financial crisis going on, and it's only sound money and personal liberty that can solve the crisis that we have today. But the one reason I talk about the monetary system so much, it was a sneaky, deceitful way to pay the bills. You know, an honest government that wants to be a big spending government would tax the people, and then the people would know what they were doing. If we had to pay taxes for everything that they do, you know, the people would rise up and stop it. So then they started borrowing money a lot, and then people didn't notice that quite as much because they passed that on. But then they resorted to the printing of the money, and that is why the Federal Reserve was established, to take care of the powerful interests, the military-industrial complex, the banking system, and deficit financing. And there's a couple reasons they have deficit financing. Sometimes there are conservatives that want deficit financing, and sometimes there are liberals who want deficit financing. And they have resorted to this, and of course this is why we are facing this crisis today. But it also serves those interests who like to think that we have this responsibility. They claim it's a moral responsibility to take our young people, put them into the military, and send them hither and yon around the world, policing the world and using up the money. So just as we have been able to bring to the forefront that most important issue of funny money, fiat money, the paper money system, the Federal Reserve, we have brought to the forefront. Others have tokenly talked about it. They get in office and they do nothing about it. But right now, it is this liberty movement, which is seen as a patriotic movement, an individual liberty movement, that is saying to the country and to the world, we've had enough of sending our kids and our money around the world to be the policemen of the world. It's the time to bring them home.